On the 10th of April 2016, in Roundham, Norfolk, an average Greater Anglia service from Norwich to Cambridge was about to be involved in a fairly severe incident. It's the early afternoon, around 12 o'clock. The Abellio Greater Anglia Class 170-204, built by Bombardier Transportation operating under the head code 1Kilo77, was travelling well, with 135 passengers on board. At around 4:15 a.m. on the 10th of April, the signaller on duty awoke and booked on at Cambridge Power Signal Box at 6 in the morning, performing administrative duties until around 9 o'clock. At around 12 o'clock, he took over from the Thetford workstation due to some previous technical issues dealing with any requests to cross the railway line, which included Hockham Road Level Crossing, a manual gated level crossing on private land. This crossing had a light system installed by Bombardier in 2012. However, it was decommissioned and placed out of service by Network Rail due to safety concerns, meaning that the system was not operational, and to cross the line, the signaller had to be called. At around 3 minutes past 12, train 1Kilo77 departed from Norwich on time and entered the area of the railway which was overseen by Thetford workstation. At 12:28 and 33 seconds, the signaller received a call from a user at Hockham Road User Worked Level Crossing, asking for permission to cross with a tractor and a trailer. The signaller then asked what he wanted to cross with and how much time he would need. The driver of the tractor stated it would only take him 1 minute to cross. At 12:28 and 43 seconds, the signaller repeated the request and stated that he had a train in his area. After the user repeated the vehicle he was driving and the time it would take to cross, the signaller granted permission to cross. The call was terminated at exactly 12:29. However, train 1Kilo77 was only 64 seconds away, barrelling at around 87 miles per hour. The tractor driver, with permission granted, opened the gates and prepared to drive across the railway line. At 12:29 and 56 seconds, the driver of 1Kilo77 was on approach to Hockham Road. He sounded his horn on approach to the whistle boards for Hockham Road and Drove Road crossings. The driver saw a raised bucket attachment from the tractor on the left where Roundham Farm is. However, vegetation and the left-hand track curvature meant that he couldn't see the tractor or see that the gates had been opened. As the tractor began to move onto the line, the train driver sounded his horn continuously for 7 seconds and applied the service brakes, followed by an immediate emergency brake application. The driver of 1Kilo77 left his cab and then entered the passenger saloon and warned the passengers of the imminent impact. The tractor driver's cab was soundproofed, so they did not hear the horn. At 12:30 and 4 seconds, 1Kilo77 collided with the tractor at around 84 miles per hour. The train did not derail, however, major damage was sustained to the front of 1Kilo77 and the tractor was destroyed beyond repair. The train travelled a further 410 metres before stopping. 35 seconds later, the driver of 1Kilo77 initiated a railway emergency call on the GSMR. However, due to damage, the driver didn't believe it had worked, although it had. At the same time, the signaller returned to the desk to hear the railway emergency call warning alarm. Himself and a colleague went to answer the call. However, it was cut off with no messages being passed. The driver instead used the guard's mobile phone to telephone Cambridge Power Signal Box to report the incident and asked for all trains in the area to be stopped. The signaller answered the emergency call and halted all trains in the area. The tractor driver was transferred to hospital with serious injuries, and 4 passengers on board 1Kilo77 were treated at the scene. Now we should look back and see some of the factors. To start, it's clear that the immediate cause of the accident was that the tractor driver drove onto the crossing as the train was approaching, who had been given permission by the signaller to do so, and therefore believed it was safe to cross. The RAIB also noted the fact that the accident would have almost definitely been prevented if the EBI Gate 200 system was still operational, as it would have detected the train and turned the light to stop. When it was decommissioned, due to several faults, it was noted that Network Rail had not come to a clear understanding with Bombardier, the manufacturer, on how the equipment had met the safety integrity levels and it's noted that if there was a stronger understanding, the system may not have been decommissioned. The RAIB found that the signaller had lost his awareness of the train's position when he gave the tractor driver permission to cross. It is noted that the signaller looked over to his VDU to see if the train had passed its decision point, in this case Hockham Road Level Crossing, which would have given them 6 minutes to cross. It is reported that he overlooked 1 Kilo 77 and therefore didn't realise how close it was, and it had actually already passed Hockham Road Level Crossing by the time of the call. It was apparent that the signaller's competence to operate the workstation safely and effectively was not adequately monitored. It was noted that some of the most experienced staff, including the signaller, disliked the computer technology on the workstation and actively avoided using it, except for situations such as meal relief or technical issues. This likely affected the signaller's confidence, familiarity, and non-technical skills, and overall his competence. While Network Rail's operational procedures state that the staff should work at the workstation at least once every 6 months, it's noted that the signaller only worked it at a total of 12 hours in 2014 and 13.5 hours in 2015, and only 3 hours in 2016, showing that he didn't have much experience nor confidence with the workstation. It's also noted that the signaller was fatigued due to family commitments and shift change patterns that caused insufficient rest. It was noted that fatigue management within Cambridge Power Signal Box was inadequate. So, what happened after this incident? No fatalities were reported, although the tractor driver did sustain serious injuries. The train operating 1 Kilo 77, 170-204, was repaired and re-entered service with Greater Anglia before moving to Transport for Wales and then East Midlands Railway, where it currently operates at the time of making this video. The EBI Gate 200 system received a complete modification, and the system was reopened for trial on the 16th of September 2016. At Cambridge Power Signal Box, new verbal commentary techniques were given to the signallers, and a weekly safety critical communication check was implemented to monitor the techniques of the staff. They also rebriefed the staff on lifestyle and looking after their well-being. Network Rail reviewed and updated the guidance that it gives to signallers on giving permission to level crossing users to cross the railway. From these recommendations, we can only hope that these new and adequate measures have been put in place to ensure the lack of fatigue and distraction in staff, and to ensure that an incident like this never happens again.